Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. Today we are going to talk about consular processing for green card. We are going to focus on employment-based green card. I'm going to give you some differences between adjustment of status when it is used versus consular processing and some pros and cons. So if you are interested in this topic, please watch this video until the end and let's get started. If you are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mandar and I make immigration related videos for US and Canada. I'm not an immigration lawyer, so anything that I say on this video or on my channel is for information purpose only. For your specific immigration needs, you should hire a competent immigration attorney. And if you like this video, feel free to hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Now let's get started. Now I have been getting a lot of questions on whether I should choose consular processing over adjustment of status. Now there is a primary difference in these two processings. These two are the final stage of the green card for any green card basically. So if you are doing family based, marriage based or even employment based, the final stage either adjustment of status or consular process. Now when do you choose adjustment of status? Adjustment of status is chosen if you are within the country. So what I mean to say is if you are in the US and if you are going through your green card process and if your visa number is available, then you can choose adjustment of status. So while being in the United States, your status will be adjusted to permanent residence without you having to leave the country. So that is adjustment of status, which is I-485. And I have made a special detailed video for adjustment of status process step by step and what to expect, and you can check it out on my channel. Now, consular processing is something that is done when you are outside of the United States. So it may be a third country or home country. Consular processing means you need to go to a US consulate with an appointment and give a formal interview. There is a list of documents that you will need to take with you and there is a certain process to be followed. Now when do you choose between adjustment of status versus consular processing? Say for instance in the employment based category. In the typical employment based category for EB2 and EB3, you go through the PERM and labor certification, and then the second stage is I-140. Or in case if you are a self petitioner like EB1A, you could go directly to I-140. Now this is the first time you need to give a choice between adjustment of status, which is I-485, or consular processing. So you have to really consider all the pros and cons depending on your situation while giving this choice at the stage of I-140. The reason I say this is because it depends on if your job is going to remain in the United States and you anticipate that you will be in the United States for the remainder of the period until you get a green card, then adjustment of status might be for you. As against if you are anticipating an international travel or if you are going to be outside of United States, because remember, this green card process can take several years. If you anticipate that you are going to be out of the country when your visa number gets available, then you might want to choose consular processing. There are other factors that go into it as well, and you need to work closely with your attorney to determine which path is right for you. Now some people also ask, is it faster to get a green card through consular processing? That used to be the case a long time back. In the recent years, I would say it is the same. If your visa number is available, going through adjustment of status is almost the same time as consular processing. In some cases, the consular process might be even longer. The reason I say this is currently there are a lot of consulates that are closed or not open. They are only giving priority appointments. So if your appointment happens to be a longer wait, then you can imagine that your process for consular processing might take longer. Whereas if you are within the United States and if your priority date remains current throughout the process, then there is a chance that you might get your green card sooner than you would have gotten through consular processing. So that is something to consider as well. Now, before going into the details of consular processing, I'll quickly give you some benefits of adjustment of status. First and foremost benefit of adjustment of status is you can remain in the United States throughout the final stage of your green card. You are not required to maintain your non-immigrant status, although it is highly recommended. you will still be invalid adjustment of status while your green card application is pending. The other thing is, in case your application is denied, there is a possibility for you to appeal while you still remain in the United States. Whereas in the consulate, that appeal process is really not very reliable. That is another advantage if you go through an adjustment of status process. Now, another thing is, in the adjustment of status, you are in the United States, and while you are waiting for your green card, you get an EAD, which is Employment Authorization Document, that allows you to continue to work in the United States while you are waiting for your green card. This is a huge advantage for many people because this process can take years and you can be working while you are waiting using this EAD card. So this is a big advantage. Now, another thing is, there is a mandatory requirement for interviews. It used to be only for family-based immigration, but now it is mandatory for employment-based immigration as well. But recently I have heard that the interviews are sometimes waived for adjustment of status. That is not the case for consular processing. You must have an interview at the consulate to get your green card approved. Another advantage is, if you are going through adjustment of status, you can take your immigration lawyer or attorney with you to the interview. That is allowed. Whereas when you are outside of the country, that facility is not available. So if your case is challenging or if it has any risks, you can choose to take your lawyer with you if you are in adjustment of status interview. Some of the few other advantages in adjustment of status is employment portability. Using the AC-21 rule, after 180 days of your pending adjustment of status application, you can officially port your employment. That is, you can join a new employer without impacting your current adjustment of status application. So these are some of the advantages of adjustment of status. But now, what happens if you happen to be outside of the country? Say for instance, you were in the United States with an employer and they started your green card process. You worked with them for several years. You went through the PERM and labor certification, and then you got your I-140 approved. Now, countries like India for EB2 and EB3 category is backlogged for several years. So at some point of your career, you may have chosen to go back to your own country. If that has happened and if you haven't gotten your green card by then you would be in a waiting stage and you would be working with a different employer in your home country. All of a sudden, you came to know that your priority date is now current. Maybe you are in EB2 or EB3 and you happen to know from the visa bulletin that your priority date is current. Now, I get this question a lot. Can I apply for I-485? And can I get my green card? Now here's the thing, I-485 is the process for people who are within the United States. So the answer is no, you cannot use adjustment of status if you are outside of United States. So that is number one. So you have to go through what is called the consular processing, and you should have selected that option at the time when you submitted your I-140. If you did not, then you will have to work with a lawyer to submit a request to change your selection from adjustment of status to consular processing. That is the only way NVC, the National Visa Center, will know that they will need to initiate your consular processing once your visa number is available. Now, coming back to the question, can you apply for consular processing if you are not working for the original employer? Now, there are two conditions. What is the consular processing? This final stage of green card, whether it is I-485 or consular processing, it is the process to determine your eligibility to get you admission into the United States as a permanent resident. What does that mean is, there are several different factors that would affect your admissibility criteria to enter into United States. It depends on your background check, it depends on your criminal history, it depends on your health, it depends on your employment, if you are able to support yourself when you arrive in the United States. So there are several different factors that impact in the decision whether your final application is approved or not. It does not necessarily go into your underlying petition for immigration. The underlying premise of your final adjudication is that you still have that US employer job offer present once you get your green card. If you are able to demonstrate that, then yes, you can go to the consular process. What it means is, whoever has applied for your green card in the first place, it has to be a US employer. If that employer is still willing to give you a job offer which is stated in your I-140 at the time of your green card adjudication, then yes, you can go ahead and use consular processing to get your green card adjudicated. Now you wouldn't ask, I don't have an offer or I don't have any letter from the employer, it is gone, it's all done, I'm now with a new employer in my home country, can I do consular processing? It is very tricky if you ask me. Some lawyers or some experts might suggest that it has nothing to do with your past application. It is your visa number is current, your background check is clear, so you should have no problem getting your green card. I have a different opinion. My advice to you is that your green card is given for a specific purpose. It has to be through marriage, or it has to be through family sponsorship, or it has to be through an employment sponsorship. So even if your I-140 was approved years back and now your priority date is current while you being outside the country, you still need to demonstrate, or you still need to be ready to demonstrate that you still have that valid bona fide job offer from the US employer, because that question might come up at any time during the consular processing. So I would not take a risk if you don't have a US employer job offer to go to the consular processing. Your visa might get rejected. So that is my opinion. In your case, you should consult a US immigration lawyer before moving forward with the consular process. So now let's look at what are the steps in the consular processing. Now you should have an approved I-140 and you should have selected consular processing as your choice. So once the I-140 is approved, USCIS will send that notice to the National Visa Center that the immigrant petition is approved. Now this triggers National Visa Center to proceed with the steps for consular processing. Next, what the National Visa Center will do is send you a notice to pay the fees for consular processing. And they will send you this notice to your current address, which is outside of the United States, wherever you are residing. So once you pay those fees, the National Visa Center will send you another set of notices that will give you a list of documentation that you will need to bring with you to your consular processing interview. It includes an online DS-260 visa application. There are other documents that are required, such as birth certificate, marriage certificate, children's birth certificate, police clearance certificate, which is very important, copy of your passport, copy of your education credentials, and few other list of documents that the National Visa Center will clearly outline in the notice that they send you. Now once the National Visa Center receives all this package of information from you, they will then validate that package for completeness. If there are any missing documents, they will send you an RFE. But if the application package is complete, then they will forward your file to the closest consulate based on your international address in the country where you are currently residing. Now once the consulate receives the package from National Visa Center, they will look to see if your application is complete, if all the documents are in place, and also most importantly, if the visa number for your category of visa is available. That means if your priority date is current. If the visa number is available, they will invite you for an interview at the consulate. Now you need to bring all those documents in original and copies to the consulate at your consulate visa appointment date. Make sure that you do not miss this interview date. If you cannot attend this interview, you should reach out to them ahead of time and reschedule and get a new date. Otherwise, it will significantly delay your process. Now, once you have your successful interview, the consulate will give you a stamp on your passport, which is the proof that you are now the permanent resident of the United States. You can travel to the United States based on that stamp on your passport, which will allow you to enter the United States as a permanent resident. Once you land in the United States, your actual green card will be sent to you in the following weeks to your address in the United States. So that is the process that I wanted to outline to you for consular processing, especially for employment based category. So I hope I was able to answer some of your questions regarding consular processing for people who are outside of the United States and their priority date is now current. So I hope you got value out of this video. If you did like the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.